All right, let's get started then. Thanks everybody again. Okay, I think we got enough time to let everybody kind of filter in. And so we have a quorum finally for people participating in this little Zoom video. And by the way, it's also being recorded and it's also being live streamed on YouTube. So anybody who wants to view it on YouTube outside of the Zoom can do so. Um, and um, and um, Trevor will send out the link to these things later on, I presume, to the YouTube and in our channel and so forth. Anyway, welcome everybody to this meeting. And to get started off, I am going to turn it over to Carl because we had something exciting happen this last weekend and it was been a lot of fun. Plus he's got an announcement. So Carl, if you're online, please go ahead and take it away.
All right, can you hear me all right?
Just fine.
I know it says P-Pockers on my screen. I'm using my wife's computer. My name's Carl, WE7OMG, for those who don't know me. Anyway, couple of quick things. The 7 Sixers barbecue, save the date on your calendar, June 12th at Highland Glen Park in Highland. It's just below Lone Peak High School. And it usually goes from like 10 to 3. We usually eat around noon, try to have a barbecue and potluck, and hopefully everybody can make it. And those who feel like it's too many people or something, we'll miss you, but we'll try and carry on. Last year, because of COVID, we were reduced to no barbecue and just a potluck, and we still managed to have fun. We had a get on the air station and we had door prizes and gave away some radios and some different things. And so we had a lot of fun. It's a fun place to bring the family regardless. There's a little lake up there and a place to play in the water and fish if you want or whatever. So put that on your calendar, save the date, June 12th. It's a Saturday.
And you said there will be a barbecue, right?
Say again?
You said there will be a barbecue or not?
Well, there will be a barbecue unless something happens and COVID shuts us down again.
All right, let's do it. That's what I'm about.
What's the name of the park, Scott?
Say again?
What's the name of the park?
Highland Glen Park.
Okay.
And you can look it up on, it's a pretty nice little park. You look it up on your Google Maps or whatever. If you take the off County Road, if you take the turn down from Lone Peak High School, down the hill, it's down in that little gully down there. And there's a little lake there and everything else. So it's a fun little place. So we've done it down there the last 4 or 5 years.
What time does that start again, Carl?
We like to say like between 10 and 3. Usually people start showing up at 9 or 10 and we start setting up and set up the antennas and the radio and get the seating ready and things like that. We don't eat till about noon. And so come down whenever you want, stay as long as you want, but come down and have some fun. And we usually clean up. We usually stay till 4, but everybody's, cleaning up at 2:30, 3 o'clock. So that's usually the way it goes. Anybody else have any questions before I move on?
Yeah, if you guys show up, if anybody shows up at 9 o'clock, they can help me put up the mast for the antenna, and I need all the help I can get.
Hey, Carl, is that the Adventures in Learning Park, the old Adventures in Learning?
The park used to reside in American Fork. They did a land swap several years ago, and Highland cleaned the place up. It's got a little lake there. And I don't remember what they used to call it when it was in American Fork. I don't remember, honestly.
This had been 100 years ago, so I just haven't been over in that area for a long time, so I just wondered.
Well, the bike path and stuff goes right through there and everything else, so it's kind of a fun little place. So
it's got to be the same place then. So
yeah,
we'll find it.
And Noji's little segues me right into what I was going to talk about next here. And he asked me to give a little report on what happened this weekend. We had 3 stations that we set up out at the marina in Linden Marina. We had 3 trailers and 3 sets of antennas out there and our 3 antennas out there. And I think we made close to 900 calls total in that 24 hours between noon on Saturday and noon on Sunday. I don't know what the exact figures and the exact points are. I'm sure they'll be announced down the road. but considering how the bands were, I think we did rather well. The one station was manned, but mostly by Chad and a group in the center there. They did a lot of CW, and I shouldn't say it, they did a lot of digital. They had a couple hundred calls in digital, and Ralph was there for a while, several hours, and made about 350 CW calls. So we did have some, you know, points and some multipliers that way. On the far end, we had our little club trailer going, except for between about 1 in the morning and about 7:30 in the morning. We did not transmit because there was just nobody out there, or the bands were really lousy. But other than that, we were going full bore most of the time. I'd like to, you know, give a little opinion about some of the stuff. Some of the guys come out there and have a lot of fun, and we try to make it fun, although there's a work aspect to it because we're out there trying to compete. It's not supposed to be a contest, but it is. But we're trying to compete, and we're trying to get as many calls as we can, get as much experience as we can, and get some guys logging or calling that haven't logged before. Some people come out and they, you know, mull around and check it out and don't get involved. We'd like to get them involved. We're not trying to chase them out, but we really need more involvement and more commitment to learning, you know, how to radio sport is what they call it, and do a little logging. It's not difficult. We had some people come out there and get their feet wet this year, and it was a lot of fun. But there is a serious aspect of it that like I say, that we're trying to compete, and it's hard to kind of convey the fact that we're trying to be serious sometimes when there's people behind us being a little too loud talking or whatever while we're trying to make contacts and things like that. But for the most part, we had fun. Now, having said all that, I don't know what else. We had fun putting up antennas, and we had fun taking them down. In an hour, we were taken down and gone. We were home we were leaving out of there by 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday. So the one thing that we did do was we did have a little birthday party out there. Noji probably doesn't want me to mention this, but there was a couple of cakes out there. I know one of them my daughter made. It was a radio. I think Joe's probably got pictures he'll share on the site there. But it was Noji's birthday. I know he likes to lie about it, but it was his birthday out there. So we called it an emergency birthday party out there and had some cake and wished Noji a happy birthday. And that was a lot of fun. Actually, I got to have the most fun. I got to open the trailer door and say, "Everybody out of here. It's an emergency, out quick." And they piled out of that trailer. And that was a lot of fun to see that happen. A couple of the guys thought I was serious. Anyway, Noji, was there something I missed or something that you wanted me to mention in particular?
No, you can shut up right about there, Carl. That's good.
Okay, yeah, I knew that he was going to say something smart like that, but happy birthday again.
Thanks, appreciate that very much. All right. Well, thank you, Carl. Thanks for the report and all you do. Thanks for getting our reservation going at Highland Glen Park. And if Lynn's on, thanks, Lynn, for that too. Appreciate your help. So the next thing I have is to welcome those who are recently new to ham radio. A couple of the guys who normally do this aren't on tonight. So let me just read you the names of those who are brand new. I have got good news and bad news. First, the good news, and that's these guys here. This is a list of those since January's club meeting who have gotten their license in our county. KJ7TOI, Nate Cummings. KJ7TOK, Kevin Anthony. KJ7TPZ, Kyle Eccles. KJ7TQA, Ryan Johnson. KJ7TQB, Aaron Kopp. KJ7TQC, George, okay, that's actually Ray Lovelace. KJ7TQD, Justin Miller. KJ7TQE, Colton Mortensen. KJ7TQF, David Perez. KJ7TQG, Corey Riley. KJ7TQH, Brent Sanderson. KJ7TQI, Stuart Segura. KJ7TRR, Lauren Fuller. KJ7TVN, Spencer Ring. KJ7TVZ, Britt Server. KJ7TZW, Jed Johnson. KJ7UAN, Jeffrey Item. KJ7UAV, Mike Tate. And KJ7UBU, Timothy Nelson. Everybody give these guys an applause.
Hey, could you repeat that? I missed one.
Now, and I know a couple of these guys are on tonight, so their names come by. So welcome. And now I did not see anybody since last meeting who actually upgraded, which means that either there weren't any or I just didn't notice them somehow. So if you did upgrade your license and you're listening to this video right now, I apologize, I didn't get your name. So if there's anybody who did upgrade and I did not make a mention of it, could you please say so now? Unmute yourself and introduce yourself, say hello. 10 seconds, Bob. All right, time's up. So maybe not many people upgraded this time, but anyway, we hope that you do in the future and look forward to some more. I know since this morning there were 2 upgrades, so already we got a couple for next month. Anyway, there you have it. All right, thanks. We do have other activities coming up in the near future. I'm not going to go over them in great detail because they will be told on Facebook, email, I don't know, Pinterest, Telegram, you name it. We're going to post them all and you guys will find out about it. In the meantime, we're just going to go ahead and move on with the meeting. So thanks to all. All right, I know I'm forgetting something, but at any rate, here is the order. After this now, we're going to go ahead and turn the time over to Doug Pelley for our presentation. After him, then we'll move over to the door prizes with Brent. So let me just tell you right now that Mr. Doug Pelley is a great guy. First of all, he's a wonderful gentleman, a nice guy, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, very, very knowledgeable on ham radio of all kinds of aspects. And he has done so much with ham radio as far as repeaters and DXing and just on. I can't even list the number of things he's had his fingers into. Most recently, he's more involved with local things, and he's a kind of a technical advisor, you might say, to many ham radio groups, and a mentor and an elder to many others. So anyway, with no more, let's go ahead and turn to Doug. Doug, are you ready to take over?
Well, a little bit nervous here because this is the first time I've ever done anything like this on Zoom before. So I'm probably going to need some help from you. But most of what I'm going to do is just talk and share screen a bunch of pictures.
Sounds
if that's
good.
okay. Okay,
Yep,
sounds
all
okay.
yours.
All righty. Number 1, an X is a has-been and a spurt is a drip under pressure. And I have been licensed as a ham for over 45 years. I've been in the commercial radio business for a few years, even longer than that, when I started out as an apprentice almost 50 years ago. A lot of my pictures and everything and sites I'll show you here will be commercial equipment because I have more of that than I have ham equipment pictures. But the only difference is the frequency they operate on when it comes to a lot of the mountaintop stuff. The bulk of my profession has been involving working on equipment or maintaining mountaintop tower sites. So that's the bulk of my experience here. So let me know comments what you think. Jump in there and feel free to ask questions. Most of what I teach to ham groups is fairly advanced. So newer hams, if it's too far over your head, please let me know. I try to get a little more basic or whatever, and some of the basic stuff I still can't understand myself. So there you go. Radio is magic, always has been, and it still will be. Anyways, Nochi sent me a list of topics to talk about on technical things. So the first one he sent, and this is the one we'll make this whole thing on, is why a repeater needs cavity filters. And we'll just jump into it right there, I think. First, let's see. Okay, now I got to share my screen. So help me if I do this wrong. I'm going to click on the green share screen. And here's what I think I want right here. And here's what I think I want right here. Let's talk about radios here first. A repeater is nothing more than a radio, a two-way radio, or two radios using the transmitter out of one, such as right here, and the receiver out of another one, such as there. Some repeaters are just made from mobile radios. That's a simple little one that's typically known as a portapeater. It's a portable repeater. You can pretty much pick it up and carry it anywhere. Radio, duplexer, and the controller power supply here. We'll get into the components here as we go. Now I got
Doug, just so you
Can
know,
you click on those pictures and make them bigger for us, please?
yeah, we're just seeing your list of pictures.
Oh,
We're not seeing
shoot.
the full-size image.
I'm looking at my hair. Does that make it better? I spread it with my finger. Does
I
that?
think you're sharing the wrong program there.
I
Yeah,
am.
open the picture
Yeah,
first.
I
then
think-
you're-
I think you're just sharing the folder that you're looking
Oh.
at, not the.
I opened up a picture. I don't know. How do I do this then?
I
There's,
think you elected to share your Explorer window instead of your entire desktop.
okay, what do I do to fix that?
So
Unshare first.
yeah,
Up
unshare,
there, okay.
yep, and then go back in and reshare and tell it that you want to
Reach,
use.
okay.
Yeah, so
And
say
use
share.
desktop.
I just clicked on the green up arrow, share screen. I'll do it again. Am I doing it? Oh, here's a share. I guess I forgot to do that. Okay, now
There you go. Now we can see your entire screen.
you're seeing radios.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay, all righty. Then let's go back to this original one. Now we're looking at this and I can spread it with my finger. Well, now I can't. Oh, there we go. Spread it with the fit. Does that make it more
Much better.
viewable? Okay. All right. Like I say, repeaters can be made up of one radio designed to be a repeater or a fixed station, or like this. There's two little mobile radios using the receiver from one, the transmitter the other, and the little controller that takes receive audio from the receiver and carrier output and sends it into the mic input of the transmitter and the push to talk, and away you go. Lo and behold, you have a repeater. Things come into play here like mechanical isolation, and that's why only certain radios can be used to make a repeater. Here's one that makes an excellent repeater. This is a 40 thereabouts year old GE Master 2 mobile radio. This here is the receiver front end here. Here's the receiver channel element and oscillator, the multiplier stages. Here's the transmitter, exciter section, the power amplifier section. Note how this is very mechanically very well isolated. This radio will duplex very well. A radio that will not duplex very well doesn't have the isolation to do that. And what happens is just noise from the transmitter gets into the receiver and desensitizes the receiver sensitivity of it. Here's a made to be repeater. That's actually your club radio up on Lake Mountain. That's the radio. And there's a duplexer for it, transmission line, etc. These radios are made to be fixed stations. They can be either simplex or duplex. Simplex meaning like a local controlled or a wireline, a microwave, now internet for a lot of it, controlled base station on a simplex frequency or a split half duplex pair, or configured to run full duplex as a repeater, like this one is configured right here. Here's some more radios here. Here's a Motorola. This is actually on a 440 ham frequency up here on Thompson Peak in Arizona. That's its duplexer. That's the PD526 duplexer. We'll get into a little more in duplexers here as we go along. Here's just a rack. These are all commercials. This is public safety here. There's two Kenwoods and a Motorola here. They're all, let's see, that one's UHF and these two are VHF. Just to get a
question for you.
Go ahead.
It says, how does the power of the transmission not overpower the receiving antenna? Is the offset sufficient enough?
We'll get into that here pretty deep here in just a couple of minutes when we get into duplexers and isolation. Just some more radios here though. This is a large link, two large linked systems here in this picture here. This is in Utah. And one of the repeaters is a Kenwood. And the rest of the repeaters are Motorola mobiles. These little Motorola CDMs duplex very nicely. Use the receiver out of one, the transmitter out of the other, put a fan on the heat sink, and there you go. This is a controller that will take multiple radios in for a link system. Likewise here for the other link system here. These are all filters. Some of these filters are duplexers. Some of these filters are to provide additional isolation to keep the transmitter of one of these radios out of the receiver of one of the other radios, depending on antenna location, depending on intermodulation mixes. And that's something we'll just barely get into because that can get really complex.
Hey, Doug,
Yes.
is that on a blowhard?
That's blowhard, yes.
Okay. Thought it looked
And,
familiar.
yeah, that's the Intermountain intertie, and that's Cactus intertie there. And let's see, here's just the upper shot of the same site there. Now that's the one I showed. Here's the bottom side of it there. Power supplies down below. Power supplies run all the radios here for the two separate systems there. Okay, let's see. Let's get into this one here now. Let's get into isolation here. Here's a problem. Here's a situation here where isolation can be needed because you have, here's a UHF antenna. This is another UHF antenna. This is a VHF antenna here. And note that the two UHFs are in the same vertical plane, same polarity of them. So depending on where these guys are in the spectrum, and this is all commercial stuff, so this is all going to be between 450 and 470. The transmitters are going to be transmitting between 450 and 455 or 460 and 465, receiving 5 megahertz above the specified transmit frequency. So you get into situations where you got a 100-watt transmitter on this antenna and it's transmitting on, let's say, the lower end of the 460 spectrum. And you have a receive antenna that's receiving up in the mid to upper end of the 450 spectrum. You're going to have a transmitter getting into a receiver that's just a few megahertz apart, which can create quite a bit of descents, just front end overload into that receiver. And thus additional cavity filtering is necessary. Bandpass rejection to take care of the broadband noise, and sometimes, depending on the situation, even a band reject cavity to reject the transmitted signal out of the receiver. We'll show you a couple of sweeps of some of that here later on. But this is the situation here of a site where this is a little mountaintop in Mesa, Arizona, and only one monopole was permitted on the site and a gazillion radios. Several of these antennas have multiple transmitters and receivers muxed onto them. That can be done using filters also. So that's an example of that. Okay, let's talk about some isolation and filtering here.
Can I ask you a quick question?
I'm not even the imposter, so it's not going to be
So
fun.
those antennas that you were just showing,
yeah,
I'm just trying to think of the scale, the size.
Okay,
The UHF, how long is that?
back to this one. See that little dipole right there where my cursor is? That's a half wave at UHF. So that's roughly a foot. From right here to right here is roughly 1 foot. This
yeah,
overall length is about 12, 13 feet in overall length. This is a half wave at VHF. So roughly there's about 18, 20 inches here. So roughly 3 feet for the overall length there. This antenna from here to here is 22 feet in overall height. Does that help you?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, you bet. Let's see, let's go back on here. And first we start coming out of the transmitter here. This is an old GE Master 2 radio, my favorite radio of them all. Is out of the transmitter. This is an isolator. An isolator is made up of what's called a circulator. And can I blow it up? Yeah, I think I can blow this up. This is actually a ham system. Note the transmit frequency here. And how can I get these pictures away? There we go. Get that out of the way. And a circulator, RF comes in one spigot here, and it literally circulates around to the next spigot going in this clockwise direction. So you have RF at this frequency right here coming in, going out to the duplexer. We'll get into the duplexer later, and then out to the antenna. Now, let's say the SWR comes up somewhat. Say you've got 100 watts coming in here. You're going to have pretty close to 100 watts coming out of here. And let's say that you've got, so let's just keep the numbers easy. It's 2 to 1. So you got 10% reflected minus the absorption in the transmission lines and all that. Let's just say you got 100 watts coming in here. You got 10 watts coming back this direction now. When it hits the circulator, it's going to move over to this spigot here, and look what's here, a 50 ohm load. So that 10 watts of power is going to dissipate into this 50 ohm load in the form of heat. Now this is done for two main purposes of protection. It protects, number one, the site. More so than the radio itself, it protects the tower site. Solid state transistors are diodes. When RF and different frequencies hits a diode, it mixes and produces intermod. It produces the sums and differences of the frequencies. And then it can be re-amplified back out to the antenna and cause quite a bit of RF pollution to the tower site. So most tower sites, isolators are required. The secondary thing that it does, and if it's your own personal radio and you got a lot of money, blood and sweat and tears put into it, it does protect the transmitter also, protects the final from too much reflected power, because any reflected power will be absorbed by the load as long as the load works. That's what an isolator is. It's a circulator with a load on that. And it protects the tower site, it protects your radio. Out of the isolator, let's see, do I have a good picture? I've got several pictures of duplexers here. Let's focus on VHF, since what has more VHF here. There are lower Q duplexers and higher Q duplexers. I thought I had a better picture of this one. Shoot, I guess I didn't put it in here. Let's go with this one here. This is a 6-cavity band pass, band reject duplexer for VHF. I apologize for not putting a better picture of that in there. Each one of these cans are a quarter wave at VHF. So round numbers, they're roughly 2 feet in overall length. These cans inside are hollow. I wish I had a better picture here. Sorry. Here's looking down on it. These cans inside are pretty much hollow. They do have a little loop on the input of it, which is what radiates RF into it and then out of it. And they have this piece of all thread shaft here that locks really tight because once it's tuned, you don't want to move it. And what that does is it moves a flat, like the top of a can, top of a can of green beans can. It moves it up and down in that can to tune that can to resonance, just like a tuning fork is resonant to a specific musical note. Tuning fork is a very high Q audio device, mechanically vibrates. Same difference here, except it's RF and not audio. And the more cavities, the tighter the skirts. I'll show you what we're talking about there. We're not talking about a piece of clothing a girl wears. Skirts, what a picture looks like on a scope, on a sweep. And the more cavities, the tighter the skirts, meaning the better isolation you have, the better band pass, the better isolation. On the negative side, the more cavities you gang together, you take an insertion loss. Typically, a duplexer like this has roughly 2 to 3 dB of insertion loss between all three cans here. Half a dB a can in that general vicinity. So put the numbers to that. Say it's a 100-watt transmitter. You're putting 100 watts into that duplexer. Typically, you've got somewhere around 60, 65 watts coming out of it. Good 2.5 dB, worst case 3 dB insertion loss. That always has to be taken into consideration when you're planning a project on a site. Likewise, on the receiver, you're going to have that same loss on the receive side. This duplexer, these knobs here, they move the inside up and down to tune it to resonance. And that tunes the band pass. Inside here's a tiny little trimmer cap, and it tunes the band reject side of the duplexer. And this is a high Q duplexer. I'll show you what I mean with that in a little bit here. This is a low Q duplexer here. Let's go back. The high Q duplexer is needed when you are tuning duplexers that have a frequency spread of a couple of megahertz or less. So your typical 2-meter duplexer where you've got a 600 kilohertz spread, you're going to need a lot of isolation compared to like some commercial systems where you've got, this one's going into public safety use. You've got one side of it at 155, the other side of it at 159. You got roughly a 4 megahertz split there. You don't need near the isolation with that. So let's see. Let's open this up here. This is that high Q duplexer here. In fact, this is in the 2-meter spectrum here, this picture here. And you'll note that the center frequency on the sweep here is 146.550. And then go look at the marker here, marker number 1. This is going to be used on a 146.85, it looks like, system. And so here is your band reject side of it here. So it's going to pass 146.85, and look at this notch here. Look at that rejection. We're looking at, I think we're looking at 100 dB here. Yeah, we're looking at 100 dB of rejection here on this through that duplexer. And going the other way, you're passing the low side frequency, you're rejecting the high side frequency. So in 2-meter operation, that radio is going to transmit on 146.85. So here's your transmit side of it, passing 146.85, rejecting 146.25, if I can count. And vice versa on the receive side, you're going to pass your 140, your lower frequency, 146.25, and reject. Look at that rejection there on 146.85. And look at the spread on here too. We're looking at 2 megahertz on the sweep here. We're looking at 2 megahertz on the sweep across the sweep here. on the high Q duplexer. Let's go look at the low Q duplexer sweep. I hope I put this on here. And I think this is it. Yeah. Let me take that up, make this a little bit bigger here if I can. It's not coming out as well as I was hoping it would. This is that actual duplexer I showed the picture of there. And note that we're sweeping 14 megahertz all the way across here. Because remember, this one's, the high side of it's 159 dot something or other, and the low side of it's 155 dot something or other right there. We've still got our 100 dB of isolation at about 4 megahertz apart, but we don't need anywhere near the filtering. Thus, the physical size of the duplexer is considerably smaller, less expensive too, and it'll do the job. Let's say we put this thing on the air, and let's go back to the ham one here, just to keep this in the amateur world here. We put this one on the air here, and let's just hypothetically say that this one's receiving on 146.250. Let's say that we have another 2-meter repeater on the same tower, and hypothetically, let's throw a number out there. Say it's going to be transmitting 146.62. That's going to put it a lot closer down here to that 146.25 receive frequency. 2 antennas like that in the same vertical plane, without any vertical separation, that's gonna clobber that receiver, even with that good duplexer in there. That's gonna need additional cavity filtering. So we'll take a single cavity or two and put it in the line there. See if that helps it. You get too many cavities in line, you're gonna choke yourself to death with insertion loss of the filters. You might wanna try a very expensive crystal filter. You don't see many of those in the ham world because of the cost of them. That's one that I had in a junk box from that's from back in the 1970s. Motorola doesn't even make them anymore, I don't think, but they can be had. I know I do some professional consulting for public safety radio, and we just bought one for a system, and I think it was in the $700 ballpark. So they're not cheap, but they sure do the job there. Also on tower sites, getting a little bit away from duplexes and filtering now. I just have 1 or 2 pictures here. We have transmission lines. Here we go. This is all LDF4, or it's 1/2-inch heliax, 50 ohm, 1/2-inch heliax cabling. It's double shielded. It's 100% shield. It's 1/2 inch in diameter. It's very low loss in it. A little over a dB and a half, something like that per 100 feet at VHF. Pushing 2 dB in that ballpark. If I remember, I've got charts to look at. I forget it so much for UHF. So you're running a run that you got to run 50 feet through the building to a cable tray or whatever, and then to a tower, and you're going 130 feet up a tower. You're going to have some length of line. You're going to have some insertion loss. So you use the lower loss cable to take care of that. There's also, I don't have a picture of it, there's LDF5, 7/8 inch. There's LDF6, 1.25 inches, 7 inch and 3/4. The larger the diameter, the lower the insertion loss, the more the cost. Also, the cost of the fittings go way, way, way up when you get into the thicker stuff. Anything more than LDF5 is typically used for higher power broadcast transmitter, or 700, 800, 900 megahertz with a decent lengthy run, just because of the physical size and the cost of it. Tower loading, weight, everything else comes into the play. But in the amateur world, for repeaters on tower sites, LDF4 is the most common. A little more lossy, a little bit less in cost. A lot of radios are now using LMR 400. Oh, here's a piece of, oops, shoot, what did I just do here? I saw a picture LDF 5. Where was that? Yeah, if I can spread it with that. There we go. There's a chunk of LDF 5 right there, 7/8. There's your, and there's another piece of it there. That's LDF 5, 7/8 or LDF 4, 1/2 inch there, just to see the difference there. And then also on a tower site, you're going to, and this is even good practice for your own home, depending on what you have for tower. These are polyphasers. These are glorified lightning arresters that not only take your the shield of your transmission line to ground, but it also has a fuse on the center conductor to help protect the transmitter power amp. Notice you got a good piece of wire and a good tie and bonds together in the building. Buildings on tower sites, I don't think I put one on here. Yeah, I'm putting my notes. Grounding is another topic. You want to go real hard and heavy into grounding, that's another day and another dollar. And if there is a professional in the group that has some real serious training and vast experience in tower site grounding, you'd be a better man than I am for teaching that class if you wanted to get into it. I'm up on the basics of it, done quite a bit of it, but get into a lot of the codes and regulations and all that that revolve around that. There's a lot of people out there that are far more savvy on that than I am.
Quick question, Doug.
Go ahead.
You showed those polyphasers being put inside the building. Isn't it recommended they be put outside the building?
That particular one, they're inside, and also they are very popular outside. Here's another one right here, and they are inside the building on this. And these, I know this building here, myself here, I know this one. These cables are grounded with straps on the outside of the building also, and then polyphasers are on the inside. And then everything is bonded together. And that's the real secret of grounding a tower site building, especially with multiple buildings on the site. In most of Arizona, most of Utah, good earth grounds are few and far between because of the soil is just, it's more rock than dirt. And where there's dirt, so many times it's so dry that it's just a worthless ground. Bonding, DC bonding everything together. Equipment in racks bonded to a halo around the building, everything on the floor bonded, everything, towers, power, electrical distribution, neutral, everything bonded together is a secret of good grounding there. Let's see. How much time do we have? Where are we at there, Noji, in time?
What time is it? Oh, you got about 7, 8 more minutes.
Oh, 8 more minutes. Okay, let's get into some of the fun things about tower sites. There's different modes of transportation. If you want an adventure, that's my #1 most favorite way to get to a tower site. If you're looking for an adventure, nothing beats a snowcat ride. And then some sites are chopper access only. And typically, other than that, it's a 4x4. Some sites you can easily just get to with a 4x4. Here's an interesting site. Whoops. Not the one I was looking for. This is a public safety site with one little radio and one little solar panel. And it's inaccessible by just about anything other than a chopper. So just threw that one in there. And then let's see, where's my other one here? Where did I put that? Did I leave that out? Shoot. Oh, here we go. This is in Arizona, southwest of Phoenix a little bit. 40 years ago, this was written up in a trade magazine as the largest solar power site in the world. It's all commercial. There's no amateur stuff up here whatsoever. This is shot approaching the site. This is the helipad right here. It's big enough you can land a Bell 206 there and get out on either side and walk around. Much bigger chopper than that, and I've been up there in bigger choppers than a 206. You can only get out on one side, and you're climbing on the rocks when you're getting out of it. But this site is powered by solar, wind, and there's a backup propane Jenny that takes over if you get too many dark cloudy days and no wind, which doesn't happen very often in the Phoenix area.
Question.
Go ahead.
Is that on South Mountain?
No, that's on the Estrellas, about 20 miles southwest, west-southwest of South Mountain.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, South Mountain is the Farnsworth Peak of Arizona. I've done a lot of work on South Mountain, got a lot of pictures, but I didn't stick any into here. Let's see. And then of course, there's a lot of beautiful scenery going to a tower site that can distract you from your work. That's in the Pinal Mountains, about 85 miles east of Phoenix. That's an 8,000-foot mountain. A lot of ham radios up there also, let alone the commercial stuff. And these are just some of my favorite pictures. This is on the White Tanks Mountains west of Phoenix one summer afternoon after a monsoon storm came through. I was working in the building and heard the storm come through, pulled out a folding chair and just sat in the middle of the building, waiting out the storm, not touching anything metal, about the safest place to be other than maybe in a vehicle. And you just wait out the storm. And when I went outside after the storm was over, this is what I saw. I think these are some of the most beautiful cloud formation pictures I've ever taken there. Just show those off a little bit. Also, going to tower sites, you can run into some very interesting critters. In fact, this was on South Mountain. This was a low power TV transmitter. I did some broadcast transmitter engineering also. And that's a Black Widow. There's a plexiglass screen between the front panel of the transmitter and the metering behind. And there's a Black Widow that was sandwiched in between there. I took that picture and then tapped on the glass and the Widow moved. And then you run into all kinds of wildlife. There's a tarantula. That's about the size of the palm of my hand. There's a timber rattler there. That's up on Mount Ord. A lot of those in the mountains in Utah. And that's one of my favorites there. Anyways, just fun stuff. Some of the fun of being in the mountaintop business, as well as being an avid ham operator, going to mountaintop tower sites to work on ham radios.
That sounds like a lot of fun there, Doug. I appreciate that very much. I do have a question for you too, though. So
Yeah.
Once upon a time, I remember seeing helical resonators, on repeater sites. Do they not use those anymore?
Helical resonators on tower sites. Specify, be more specific.
So instead of having these long, tall cavities, they used to have helical resonators that for UHF specifically, and they didn't quite measure up to our cavities we have today, but it seems like that they were everywhere. Every repeater site you went to had helical resonators. I guess they don't do that much anymore.
That was kind of on the way out as I was getting into it 50 years ago. I know what you're talking about. I have zero experience with it, but I hear you there. Let's see. Here's some other pictures here. We're talking about point link.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
That GE Master 2 that you showed earlier, the inside of?
Yeah.
The front end has a half a dozen helical resonators
That's
in
what
it.
made me think of that. Yeah.
Yes, it does. Oh, and now
also another thing that I wanted to mention, when you showed the picture of the, you said it was the club repeater.
Mm-hmm.
That is a club repeater, but it's not on Lake Mountain. That's the one that's at Sundance.
Oh, okay. Well, he sent me the pictures, said that was there, but there you specified you're more up on it there. And yeah, you are so correct on the front ends. That I didn't know if I thought he was heading in a different direction with a helical resonator, more as a window filter.
Can I
Right.
see
Which
the
goes
picture?
way back.
Can I see the
Commonly
picture
also
with
known as a pre-selector.
Can I see
Yeah.
the picture with the helical things again? So they can
Oh,
Can't
you
really
mean
see them.
the Master 2 front end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's my Master 2 front end? There we go. There we go. That is inside here are helical resonators. Here is your multiplier mixer antenna into here. So here's L1. Here's your helical front end right there.
Now, are all of those components separated for RF reasons, or because these aren't the size of your typical mobile radio? And I'm just wondering if they're all in separate.
Well,
go ahead.
Today's mobile radio, even today's fixed station, it's a computer that emits RF. Digital intimidates me. I'm an old schooler, and I wish somebody could explain to me in nuts and bolts mechanics how you can take a computer chip and turn it into a tuned RF circuit. Somebody should teach that class on that one, because that just blows me away.
Fun stuff.
Let's see.
I could explain it to you, but it would take a while.
Yeah, it's a
Go
class.
back on the point-to-point links here. These horizontal Yagis here are all point-to-point links. This is part of the Intermountain Intertie and the Cactus Intertie. Whoops, wrong picture. Sorry, excuse me. Like I say, I'm not very experienced at doing things on Zoom here. I guess I was the only one I had on that. Okay. Just to touch on link systems here, there are two types of link systems. There are, when you're talking about more than two radios linked together. Two radios linked together is just a point-to-point link. Add a third radio or more than number 3 from number 3 up, then you have your choice. You can even mix and max, but you link by either hub and spoke or you link by daisy chaining. This is for duplex links, or you can simplex link as long as all the radios in the same system are line of sight to each other. You can even simplex link it. There's some disadvantages to that, but it does work. To duplex link, full duplex link, any more than two radios, then you get into either hub and spoke, where your hub is actually a link repeater. It's a full duplex radio, and the spoke radios are half duplex. Or you can daisy chain together. Most of the Intermountain Intertie is daisy chain link, and just site to site to site to site to site. And the controller does all the magic of separating the audio and the push to talk and the carrier activities, etc. I was also going to touch a little bit on some terminology. And let's see, let's talk about levels of quieting and also the term squelch tail. I'm going to unshare here, I think, because we're done there. Level of quieting, an FM receiver with the squelch control wide open. And does anyone not know what the word squelch means? Just in case, it means to quiet something. When you squelch something, you quiet it. FM receiver, unsquelched, not receiving any kind of a signal, is emitting white noise for audio. White noise is just audio frequencies from all over the audio spectrum. That blast of noise that you hear, that's white noise. Some people call it squelch. It's blasting squelch. That's an acceptable term, but it can confuse you too, because to squelch means to quiet. And the way the squelch circuit works in an FM receiver is you've got a transistor amplifier that looks at the audio coming in. And when it sees that white noise, it's producing a voltage on the transistor, on the base of that transistor, causing it to conduct or not conduct, depending on the circuit. But it keeps the receiver audio amplifier turned off. As that noise is reduced in level of noise by the presence of a signal, that bias on that transistor changes and it opens up the receiver so you can hear what's coming in through the receiver. That is quieting. There are different levels of quieting. Full quieting is where the signal is so strong that you hear no white noise whatsoever. That's a full quieting signal. And then levels of quieting is done in dB. I did, if anyone's interested, I did a little YouTube video on that. If anyone wants the link, I can get it out later on if you're interested, and goes through the different levels of quieting just to your ear. But in dB of quieting, typically it goes from full quieting, 50, 40, 30, 20, and everybody knows that term 20 dB quieting. If the noise sounds like popcorn cooking on the popcorn cooker, that's about 20 dB of quieting. And depending on where you set your squelch, that squelch control just varies the amount of that voltage that has to hit the base of that transistor to turn the audio amplifier on and off. That's all it does. Now, when a FM receiver is receiving a signal and the signal is at a specific level of quieting, when that signal suddenly goes away, because the person talking to you unkeys his transmitter, that transmitter shuts off instantly, that signal goes away instantly, it takes a fraction of a second for that squelch circuit to detect that white noise and silence the receiver. So you get that when they unkey, that little burst of white noise. That little burst of white noise is a squelch tail. That's the proper definition of a squelch tail. Many people confuse the word squelch tail with repeater hang time, which is a totally different animal, which we'll get into that now. Repeaters typically have a hang time, meaning from the time the repeater's receiver stops receiving a signal, the transmitter hangs. It stays on. Another term is dropout delay. I personally use the word hang time because it hangs for however long you have it set for. The maximum legal is 5 seconds. And there are reasons sometimes in some applications to want to have the hang time short, other reasons to want to have the hang time long. My personal preference is long for most instances because it's a perfect way to test and see how well you're getting into it, how well you're hearing it when you can Ker Chunk it. And that's going to lead to what I'm going to finish this up with. When you Ker Chunk it, you can listen to that carrier on that hang time, and you can move your walkie-talkie around or turn your portable Yagi or whatever you're working on, or look at your signal meter. You got some time to look at the signal strength of that radio transmitting back to you. So a long hang time is very, very handy for that type of testing. A short hang times really only has a real advantage if, and this is popular in commercial systems, not that popular in ham systems, where you've got some usage on the repeater and then other usage on talk around. Talk around is a term for simplex on the output frequency, also known as direct. And you never want to operate simplex on an input frequency for obvious reasons. But yeah, there are repeaters, especially in the public safety world, where you've got some traffic on talk around or simplex and some through the repeater. So you want a short hang time for that because the repeater's transmitter could clobber a mobile talking simplex to another depending on locations there.
Hey, Doug, you got 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay, repeaters have to legally ID themselves with a identifier, either voice or CW. If a repeater does not have an integral identifier, then it needs to be voice ID'd. So if you're ever using a repeater or ever want to put one of your own up and it doesn't have an IDer on it, you got to make it known to say your ID every 10 minutes, follow the rules there for ID. Let's talk about real quick here about Ker Chunkers, because that was also mentioned. How do you handle a Ker Chunker that wants to just Ker Chunk, Ker Chunk, Ker Chunk, Ker Chunk, and never say anything? Also, someone that's on the system posing malicious interference. How do you want to handle those people? Leave them alone. Talk over them, talk around them, keep your conversation going like they aren't there. You ignore them, they'll go away. You give them a reaction because they're looking for a reaction. They're going to stick around. Legitimate Ker Chunking for testing. My own personal repeaters and all the clubs that I'm involved with that have them, no one has any objection to, if you want to test something, you need to Ker Chunk that repeater. ID, just legally ID. If you're going to Ker Chunk, Ker Chunk, Ker Chunk, WB7TJ testing. If you don't want to be bothered because you're listening to yourself on a mobile radio or something, WB7TJ testing, no responses required or whatever. And that way others won't come back to you and say, oh, you're making it okay and all that, because they know you're just testing. Okay, any questions or anything, and I'll call this done. I guess I bored everybody to death. All right, Noji, it's back to you.
Well, you put them in such deep thought there, Doug, that it's just hard for them to come up with so many sudden questions. But anyway, as we do get questions from time to time about this particular topic, we'll actually forward it to you offline after tonight, and we'll ask them to you on email or whatever means we have, and we'll bring them up that way. So thank you, Doug, very much for your time and preparation on this. So appreciate you.
All right, see ya.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move overhead and go ahead and turn the time over to Brent now. So Brent, if you're still around there and not, if you're finished with your sandwich, we'd like to turn time over to you. Go ahead, Brent.
Well, actually, I finished with my spaghetti about an hour ago, so way ahead of you.
There you go. Okay, it's all yours.
Well, good evening, everyone. I want to give a big shout out to James. He made this new app for us to use. That is a random drawing. All we have to do is just push this button, and everyone that entered tonight will be drawn at random. So instead of having me cut out pieces of paper and then putting them in a bowl and mixing them together, it's going to be done professionally now. So I want to thank James for that. Let me go and pull up these door prizes really quickly. So our door prizes tonight for the main ones are a club flashlight, a signal stick antenna, a handy work light, a folding nut driver, and of course an ARRL membership. And we're going to start with those.
If you want to pause for a minute, Noji is showing what these are here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Noji. I was looking at my phone the whole time. I apologize.
No, that's okay. That's okay. We're good.
All right. So club flashlight. Signal stick antenna. Handy work light.
Noji, for those who are in speaker view, you have to say something or it doesn't switch over to you.
Oh, I see. Okay. Sorry, that's a good point. I forgot about that. Okay, this is the club flashlight. Pretty heavy little thing. Anyway, there you go. And you guys are pretty familiar with the signal stick antenna. There you go. This is a work light that I got. I thought it was pretty nice. It's called a Handy Bright. And whoa. And let's see. And this is a multi-nut driver, so you can kind of like a jackknife. You can pull out any number of nut drivers out of this thing, just like that.
Okay, so
go ahead.
And then we'll do those other two last, Noji. the two main prizes. But for the two
Okay.
main prizes, we have the
Hey, Brent.
dual band transceiver.
Hey,
Hey,
Brent.
dual band transceiver, there we go. And
Of course, we have Carl's Puckrest J-pole.
and I didn't not bring up one of those with me today, so we'll just have to use our imagination.
But those last two prizes we're gonna do last. Those will be our main prizes.
Hey,
How
Brent.
this will work? Oh,
Brent.
sorry, go ahead.
Looks like Keith wants to get in. I don't know if he got on the list. So Keith,
Hey, Keith, go ahead.
AB7M.
What's this 4-digit number?
Keith,
Call it 4482.
4482.
oh, and Scott wants in 3773. These are in the chat.
3373.
3773.
Three. Okay, I'm sorry. One more time.
3773.
Got it.
And the call sign is November 7, Sierra Whiskey Delta.
7 Sierra Whiskey Delta. Okay.
Correct.
And that was Keith, right?
No, that was Scott.
Scott. Okay. Okay, so how this will work is I will click on the draw button. One name will be selected, and then that person may select any of the first 4 prizes. Alex Markham, 4325. KJ7 NXD.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, Alex, congratulations. What would you like? The flashlight, the signal stick, the handiwork light, the folding nut driver, or the ARRL membership?
Let's do the signal stick.
Signal stick antenna is yours then. Okay, good job, Alex. Good
Thank you.
choice.
And then, Noja, I'm assuming you're writing these down. Is that correct?
He is, yes.
Okay. Number 2. 5655. Raymond Loveless. KJ7 TQC.
Ray, you on?
Possibly
Is it possible he's on YouTube?
It's my speaker.
That's copyrighted. Don't get in trouble.
Oh,
Oh, come on. That's like my thing now.
I haven't played with it. I haven't cleaned it up. I haven't tested it. Nothing.
Noji, should I move on?
Yeah, let's give that to somebody else.
Okay. 2578. John Malone. N0 MEL. N0 MEL 2578 John Malone.
What's it gonna be,
Oh,
Joe?
he's here. He's here.
Yep, he's here.
Hey, John. So what prize would you like? We still have the club flashlight, the handiwork light, the folding nut driver, or the membership?
Nut driver, flashlight, and this thingy. Yep. And an ARRL membership.
He'll take the club flashlight.
Okay.
Okay, John, congratulations. Next winner is Paul Matthews, W7BG 2824.
All right, Paul, what's it going to be? ARRL membership or one of these two? Ten seconds, Paul. Did you respond at all? I don't know. He did send in.
You on YouTube or Zoom?
That's why I was kind of giving it a minute. Because this is like, what, a 30-second live?
I'm waiting to see if I won a door prize. Probably not, but that's what I'm waiting for.
Are you Paul Matthews?
All right. No, he's not Paul. But
Yeah, I know.
Okay, we'll move on.
Okay, moving on. 7358, Evan Harmon, W7KOI.
Evan, you better be there.
Woo!
Evan.
All right, Evan, what would you like? We've got the folding nut driver. He wants the membership. All right, Evan, congratulations.
Good job. Good choice.
7620, KJ7MOE, Murphy.
Murph. All right, Murph, what's it going to be?
Hey, Murphy. What's left? The tongue twister here. Folding nut driver or the handy flashlight?
He says he wants the work light.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, then the last drawer will get the folding nut driver. And the winner of the folding nut driver is 4567 KI7. Yeah, KI7 JWH Brent Kratz.
I'm here.
Congratulations.
There you go, Brent. Nut driver.
Thanks. Okay, we're gonna do the dual band transceiver first, Noji.
Okay, dual band transceiver first. There you go, pre-programmed.
Okay, and that's going to, you've got to be kidding me.
He always says that.
Just take a wild guess, Noji, what you think it is.
I think it's Keith, KB7M.
Nope. Try one more time. You're never gonna guess who got it.
Okay, Trevor.
Yep.
Really?
Congrats, Trevor.
Well, I have to drive out for it. Then. There you go.
Thanks, James.
So we were talking earlier tonight about how many times Trevor has won. That's why when his name popped up, I was like, "Are you serious?"
Thank you.
Well, congratulations, Trevor.
Congratulations, Trevor.
Thanks.
Okay, and then the last one is Carl's Parkris J-Pole. Joe Costello, 4821.
All right, Joe.
Whoop, whoop.
Is Joe Costello on?
I'm right here.
Oh, he's there.
All right, congratulations.
Can't avoid him. Well, congratulations,
Thank
Joe.
you.
All right, congratulations
Very
to
good.
all door prize winners. James, this thing works like a charm and it is very helpful. Thank you so much for it.
No problem. If you have any changes you want, let me know. If there's something that would make it easier, let me know. I'll be happy to make changes if we need to.
Yeah, there is one change I'd like to see, and I'll get with you afterwards. It's how to cheat, but that's beside the point. So, anyway.
No problem.
Well, yeah, let me rig it so I can win.
I'm sorry, Trevor already contacted me this month, so you guys can fight over next month.
No wonder.
For all we know, he just makes up the names because we can't see his screen, right?
Exactly.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks everybody for your time and participation tonight. Thanks for being here in this monthly meeting. I know it's an endurance test with all this COVID stuff. We're, online and such with our Zoom meeting. But thanks for being here. So next meeting next month, March. Let's see, what is this? 2021. So yeah, March 4th.
You want to say anything about the 5-year birthday?
Oh, that's right. I forgot. So by the way, Trevor just reminded me that tomorrow our club is 5 years old. So it's amazing. We've come this far. We've got over 1,500 Facebook members and over almost 700 ARRL members. It's just amazing. So everybody, thank you so much for your participation, and happy birthday to UVARC and to everybody who's got birthdays. So thanks to all. We'll see you next
Ooh,
time.
happy
7-3, everybody.
And happy birthday to Noji.
Happy birthday, Noji.
Thanks. Here they come.
Thanks, No